Vice President J.D. Vance's upcoming visit to Greenland has been met with a mixture of relief and apprehension. Initially, only his wife, Usha Vance, was scheduled to attend the Avanata Kimusersu dog sled race. However, the vice president's decision to join her at the U.S. Space Force outpost at Pituffik has shifted the dynamics of the visit, raising questions about the true intent and potential diplomatic ramifications. This change in itinerary comes after concerns arose regarding the initial plan, which lacked an official invitation from Greenland. The decision to visit the Pituffik Base, while technically permissible under a 1951 agreement between Denmark and the U.S., has nonetheless stirred controversy. Greenland's government has publicly stated that they did not extend any invitation for the visit, private or official, emphasizing their desire for a de-escalation of tensions after the previous administration's controversial overtures. The timing of the visit, coinciding with Greenland's formation of a new government following recent elections, has further complicated matters. This confluence of events has created a diplomatic tightrope walk for all parties involved. The change in plans has been met with cautious relief by both Greenland and Denmark. The initial itinerary had sparked significant concerns, but the revised approach has somewhat alleviated these fears. The original itinerary, with Usha Vance attending a cultural event without an official invitation, had raised concerns about potential diplomatic faux pas. Greenlandic officials were particularly worried about the implications of such an unplanned visit, fearing it might be seen as a disregard for their autonomy and cultural sensitivities. The presence of the vice president at a U.S. military base, while still controversial, is seen as less likely to provoke direct confrontations with Greenland's residents. This military base has long been a point of contention, but the controlled environment of the base visit is perceived as a safer option compared to an unsanctioned public appearance. However, anxieties linger. The memory of former President Trump's attempts to purchase Greenland, a semi-autonomous Danish territory, still casts a long shadow. This controversial proposal had not only shocked the people of Greenland, but also strained diplomatic relations between Denmark and the United States. The Trump administration's overt interest in acquiring Greenland sparked outrage and resentment, raising questions about U.S. respect for Greenland's autonomy and Denmark's sovereignty. The proposal was seen as a blatant disregard for the wishes and rights of the Greenlandic people, leading to widespread protests and a reaffirmation of their desire for greater self-determination. The Trump administration's overt interest in acquiring Greenland sparked outrage and resentment, raising questions about U.S. respect for Greenland's autonomy and Denmark's sovereignty. The proposal was seen as a blatant disregard for the wishes and rights of the Greenlandic people, leading to widespread protests and a reaffirmation of their desire for greater self-determination. The Danish Prime Minister has publicly criticized the visit, labeling it as unacceptable pressure and highlighting the lack of formal invitation from Greenland. This criticism underscores the delicate nature of international relations in the region and the importance of respecting Greenland's political processes and autonomy. While acknowledging the U.S. right to manage its military base, the Danish government has expressed concerns about the timing and nature of the visit, emphasizing the need for sensitivity and respect for Greenland's ongoing political transition. The visit's timing, coinciding with Greenland's efforts to form a new government, has added to the complexity of the situation. The visit comes at a sensitive time for Greenland, which is in the process of forming a new government after recent elections. This period of political transition is crucial for Greenland's future, and any external interference could have significant implications for its governance and autonomy. Both Greenland and Denmark have expressed a desire for the U.S. to respect this internal political process and refrain from actions that could be perceived as interference or pressure. The hope is that through careful diplomacy and mutual respect, the nations can navigate this complex situation without further escalating tensions. The specter of former President Donald Trump's annexation attempts looms large over Vice President Vance's visit. Trump's suggestion in 2019 that the U.S. should purchase Greenland, dismissing it as a large real estate deal, was met with international condemnation and ridicule. This proposal, widely seen as a demonstration of U.S. neo-colonial ambitions, severely strained relations between the U.S. and Denmark, as well as with Greenland itself. The Greenlandic government, along with the Danish government, firmly rejected Trump's proposal, asserting Greenland's autonomy and right to self-determination. The episode left a bitter taste, raising concerns about U.S. intentions and respect for international norms. The current visit, though framed differently, risks being viewed through the lens of past transgressions. The Biden administration has sought to repair the damage caused by Trump's actions, emphasizing cooperation and partnership. However, Vance's visit, particularly given its timing and the lack of a clear invitation from Greenland, threatens to reopen old wounds and reignite suspicions about U.S. motives in the region. The historical context underscores the delicate diplomatic challenge facing Vice President Vance. To navigate this situation successfully, he will need to convincingly articulate U.S. respect for Greenland's autonomy and reassure both Greenland and Denmark that the U.S. is committed to a mutually beneficial partnership. Section 4. The Arctic Prize. Greenland's geostrategic significance. Greenland's strategic importance has grown exponentially in recent years. This vast, icy landmass, often overlooked in global geopolitics, is now at the forefront of international strategic discussions. As climate change melts Arctic ice, new shipping routes are opening up, drastically reducing travel time between major global markets. This transformation is not just about shorter routes, it's about the economic and strategic opportunities that come with them. Access to the region's vast natural resources, including oil, gas, and rare earth minerals, is becoming increasingly feasible. These resources are critical for the future of technology and energy. This has intensified geopolitical competition in the Arctic, with major powers like the United States, Russia, and China vying for influence and access. The stakes are high, and the competition is fierce. Major powers are not just interested in the resources, they are also focused on the strategic military advantages that come with controlling parts of the Arctic. The region is becoming a new arena for military posturing and strategic positioning. Greenland, with its strategic location, vast mineral reserves, and potential as a hub for Arctic shipping and military operations, finds itself at the center of this geopolitical chessboard. Its importance cannot be overstated. The island's ports and infrastructure are being eyed as potential bases for future operations, both commercial and military. This makes Greenland a critical piece in the Arctic puzzle. The United States, recognizing Greenland's strategic significance, has long maintained a military presence there. This presence is not just about defense, it's about maintaining a foothold in a rapidly changing region. The Thule Air Base, located in Greenland, serves as a critical component of U.S. missile defense and space surveillance systems. It is a key asset in the U.S. military's global strategy. This base not only provides strategic military advantages, but also symbolizes the U.S. commitment to maintaining its influence in the Arctic. Russia, with its extensive Arctic coastline and military modernization efforts, poses a significant challenge to U.S. interests in the region. The Russian government has been investing heavily in Arctic infrastructure and military capabilities. This includes the deployment of advanced icebreakers and the establishment of new military bases aimed at securing its Arctic territories and asserting its dominance. China, though geographically distant, has declared itself a near-Arctic state and has been actively investing in Arctic infrastructure and scientific research. This is part of its broader strategy to expand its influence globally. China's ambitions in the Arctic are not just about resources, they are also about securing new trade routes and establishing a presence in a region that is becoming increasingly important. The country has been conducting extensive scientific research and building infrastructure to support its long-term goals in the Arctic. Seeking to secure its own stake in the Arctic's future, China is positioning itself as a key player in the region's development. The competition for influence in the Arctic is not merely about resources or shipping lanes, it also has significant implications for global power dynamics and security. The Arctic is becoming a new frontier for great power competition. The strategic importance of the Arctic extends beyond the immediate economic benefits. It is about shaping the future of global power structures and ensuring national security. The Arctic is becoming a new frontier for great power competition, and Greenland, due to its strategic location and resources, will play a pivotal role in shaping the region's future. As nations continue to vie for control and influence, Greenland's role will only become more significant. Its strategic position and resource wealth make it a key player in the unfolding Arctic narrative. The future of the Arctic, and indeed global geopolitics, will be heavily influenced by the developments in Greenland. Its importance on the world stage is set to grow, making it a focal point for international strategy and diplomacy. Section 5. A diplomatic tightrope. Vance's criticism and international concerns. Adding fuel to the fire are Vice President Vance's recent criticisms of European allies, particularly regarding their defense spending and reliance on U.S. military support. Vance has been vocal about his belief that European nations should shoulder more of the financial and logistical burdens of their own defense, rather than depending heavily on American resources. This stance has not only ruffled feathers across the Atlantic, but has also raised questions about the future of NATO and transatlantic relations. These criticisms, while not directly aimed at Greenland or Denmark, have nonetheless created a backdrop of tension and mistrust. European officials are increasingly wary of U.S. intentions, and this skepticism extends to American activities in the Arctic. The region, already a hotspot for geopolitical maneuvering, is now further complicated by these strained alliances. Vance's visit, seen in the context of his past remarks, risks being perceived as an attempt to assert U.S. dominance and pressure Greenland into aligning with U.S. interests. The presence of U.S. military aircraft in Greenlandic airspace only adds to this perception, suggesting a show of force rather than a gesture of goodwill. This could lead to a backlash from Greenlandic leaders and citizens who value their autonomy and are wary of external pressures. This approach could backfire, pushing Greenland closer to other actors in the region, such as China or Russia, who are eager to expand their influence. Both nations have been making strategic moves in the Arctic, seeking to establish a foothold in this resource-rich and strategically important area. If Greenland feels alienated by the U.S., it may find common cause with these other powers, further complicating the geopolitical landscape. The timing of the visit, coinciding with Greenland's ongoing government formation, further complicates the diplomatic picture. Greenlandic politicians are currently navigating a complex and delicate process to form a new coalition government. The presence of a high-ranking U.S. official during this critical period could be seen as an attempt to influence the outcome of these negotiations, potentially swaying decisions in favor of U.S. interests. Greenland's political leaders are currently engaged in delicate negotiations to form a new coalition government, and the visit could be perceived as an attempt to influence this process or pressure Greenland into making decisions favorable to the U.S. This perception could undermine the legitimacy of the new government and create internal divisions, making it harder for Greenland to present a united front in its dealings with external powers. The international community is watching closely, wary of any moves that could further escalate tensions in the Arctic. Countries with interests in the region are particularly concerned about the potential for increased militarization and the risk of conflict. The Arctic, once a relatively peaceful and cooperative area, is now at the center of a new great game, with major powers vying for influence and control. The Arctic Council, an intergovernmental forum for Arctic states, has already expressed concerns about the potential for militarization and conflict in the region. The Council, which includes countries like Canada, Russia, and the Nordic nations, aims to promote cooperation and sustainable development in the Arctic. However, the increasing presence of military assets and the strategic interests of non-Arctic states are challenging this mission. Vance's visit, therefore, carries significant diplomatic weight, and its success or failure will depend on his ability to navigate these complexities with sensitivity and tact. The stakes are high, and the outcomes of this visit could have lasting implications for U.S. relations with Greenland, the broader Arctic region, and the international community at large. The world is watching,